What we're doing here is factoring simple trinomials. Now you'll remember that simple trinomials are trinomials that have a coefficient of 1 in front of the x squared term or the squared term. And in our first example, we can see clearly how that is true. Okay, we don't have anything written, but a 1 is assumed to be there. So what I've done here, I have a little box at the side because we want to identify what we need to get in order to be able to factor this simple trinomial. So we know that it has to have a product of the last term, so a product of 10, and I'll write that in here. So it's a product of 10, and it has a sum of the middle term, which is over here. So a sum of 7. Now what are those two numbers? Well, I believe they are 2 and 5. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 plus 5 is 7. So now I can rewrite my simple trinomial in factored form just using this very simple pattern. The first number I found, I write it here, so the plus 2, and the second number I found, I write in the second binomial. If you want to check your work, you can just multiply out those two binomials and you should end up with x squared plus 7x plus 10. In the second example, okay, I have two variables, but the same principle applies. The product is going to be negative 14, which is at the end there. So a product of negative 14. And the sum is going to be this guy in the middle, negative 5. Now, the inclusion of two variables into the question doesn't really change anything, just the way the final answer is represented. The same principle applies. So let's go back for a sec. What multiplies to give us negative 14 as to give us negative 5? Those numbers are negative 7 and positive 2. So I take those numbers and I'm going to write m minus 7 n, because that is the other variable, and in the second bracket I'm going to have m plus 2n. Again, that's the pattern you will always find with these types of trinomial expressions that have two variables. You'll notice that the first variable goes at the beginning, the second variable at the end. In our last one here, simple trinomial is a squared minus 6a plus 8, so it has a product of 8, and the sum is negative 6. Well, those two numbers are negative 4 and negative 2. So how does that figure out in the expression? Here I'm going to have a minus 4, close bracket, and then a minus 2. And there you have your product of two binomials.